On this brand new episode, we'll be talking about Tenet, Cuties, some of the new trailers that just dropped, and what we have watched so far, either shows or movies that have gotten us through COVID. All that and much more. No time for movies. I guess we're back. I didn't even write down anything to actually talk about, but
No, man. I mean, that's what I figured. Like, we're kind of just coming back from.
a long
There's
break.
been a lot going on, and there's a lot of movies coming out. Like, I mean, Tenet finally. We're still in the pandemic and in the quarantine, but at least now there's some movies being released in theaters. I've actually was able to see two movies in theaters, but I had to drive to Nevada to go see them.
So
So
let's talk Tenet really quick. Like I have not seen it.
you haven't seen it yet?
No,
Okay.
because it's always hard for me, even without the pandemic, to get to the theater. Like, especially
Yeah.
with a movie like that, because I can't. Like, I have to leave the kids behind. I gotta figure it out. You know, I have to be. I'm working, so. But and then again, like, I was at one point very interested in the movie, and then my interest just declined. Like, and I didn't even really matter if I watched it or not.
Yeah, I think that kind of happened. Well, I mean, once it got released and the hype for it kind of died down once. I mean, if it was as good as most people were really hoping it was going to be, then I feel like most people would be rushing out to the theaters to see it.
Right, and then
But
but like people that have seen it, they didn't really. They were
and it
like,
is that's the thing is it is really it's a spectacle. Like it's 100% worth seeing in theaters. Like it's over the top. I mean, it's a huge budget
yeah,
action film and like a kind of espionage, like James Bond-ish kind of thriller, but there's so much information in almost every scene in every action sequence that to try to keep up with this movie, it was almost kind of exhausting. Like eventually, like probably like 20-30 minutes into it, I even stopped trying. Like I was just like, I'm so lost, I've been so buried by the amount of information that's coming at you that I was like, there's certain characters that show up that you don't even know their relevance to the story or like how they're playing off each other or like what's really going on. And then there's certain missions they go on, but they're like it gets so muddled and so confusing, which yeah, maybe I'll be able to decipher it more and more with each time I see it. But the first time you see it, it's just such an onslaught of information that you kind of, for me, I just was like, this is too much. Like, I don't even know. You don't even know what details to even try to be picking up on to even comprehend where the story is going to end up. Like, if even trying to describe it now in a vague terms makes it even more confusing.
right.
So, but yeah, so I think just that once that kind of came out, like even I think last weekend it only made $6 million
Yeah,
in the United States. Like it's not it's basically
yeah.
floundering
It
right
made
now and people aren't
four
rushing out
four
to the
point seven
theaters.
million. That's what it said. Yeah,
Really?
4.7
Yeah.
million total of 250 million globally so far.
Yeah, and its budget I think was like 250 million. So it's literally made its
It's
budget
just made its
back.
budget back.
That's not even marketing or anything like
Yeah,
that. So I mean this movie will probably go down as a financial disaster, which is
yeah.
too bad because it shouldn't be that, but at the same time, and I appreciate that he's trying to get people back in the theaters and by releasing the movie because if they didn't release this one, I don't think anyone would be coming back at this point right now. I
Well,
mean,
a
I
lot of
would,
people were
but
thinking of following it, and
hmm
and I think they saw the numbers and they were like, "We'll just hold off till Christmas.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll hold off a few more months."
exactly.
Which I
But I
think
think
is a smart
even
idea.
the
I don't know if necessarily he wanted it out so people would go through to the theaters, or he wanted to capitalize on people wanting to get out of their house and go see something.
I think probably both. I mean, because in my head, what was funny when I first in my head, it wasn't even a question. If they opened up theaters, I was already back in. Like, I don't care if I'm getting sick. Like, I don't like. I'm going to the
Yeah,
movies.
but
Like, nothing's
you're
gonna
like a
stop me.
diehard, right? So
But I'm a diehard,
yeah,
exactly. So I'm like kind of the extreme of like the far whatever that direction is. But it was funny when people, I forget what website I was reading, but they released like Tenet's going to be released in like a couple weeks. Like who's going to go see it? And I looked at all the comments below, and I would say 90% were like absolutely not going to the movies, not going to be like sitting in a theater,
right.
not surrounding myself with other people. And I was like, damn, like I figured most people would be like, can't wait to get out of the house, can't wait to get back into a theater. But so it really does kind of showed me that more people are scared of this virus than I even think about. Because I'm like, dude, it has a 99.6% recovery rate. And I'm like, this is not like
Yeah,
once in the beginning, like, yeah, it seemed like a scary
it's
virus,
just
but
kind of
now it's like
unknown. That's
basically
why.
yeah, and I think that's kind of what it is. So it's, but they made it really scary. Like they've made this virus like really terrifying. And so I get like being on the cautious safe side. And it is like people still, even now, the CDC is still releasing information. They flip flop all the time. And I'm like, but how is that? So it's affecting the movies in a dramatic way. So it has to be affecting a ton of business in the same ways also. But it's at a certain point where like, well, how do we even come out of this? And
Right.
then watching what's happened, because I think they might even pull most of the movies from the rest of the year. Because like Dune's supposed to be released December 18th. And if Tenet's only making
Wonder
$4
Woman
million
moved back.
in the US, there's no way they're going to release that.
Yeah, Wonder Woman moved back in December as well. I think 25th, Christmas Day.
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
something like that. So I think it was just because the numbers Tenet did there. They got scared and pushed it back a couple months.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you can't look at those numbers and be like, this is smart to release our
yeah, I don't
film.
know. You could tell me what you're thinking, but like at this point, I think the theater experience might have taken a big hit, and I don't know if they're gonna
Huge
recover
hit.
from it. Um, Mostly because I feel like
That's,
we've gotten these early access stuff online. You know, you can stream it, and they tested the
hmm
waters with that, and I think more people enjoyed it or are enjoying it than actually going to the theater. Mostly because it's probably
yeah, especially
cheaper.
during a
It's
pandemic.
cheaper. It's more convenient. You know, you can watch it at any time. You don't have to rush out anywhere. Um,
hmm
and I don't know if the theater's gonna recover from that. Like, is it just big blockbuster movies that are gonna be able to make money at the theater, and everything else is gonna have to be released early access and streamed?
It's kind of like I would have fought against that 100%, but I'm like, I feel like I'm in the small minority now
Yeah,
of still missing that theater experience, like going to the theater, being around your community,
yeah,
like watching and shared stories. But we're also just in such a hostile time where people are there. It's like it's fearful, it's angry, it's all of those things. So being trapped in a room too, and even before the pandemic, like the movies. I mean, people would be on their phone in the movie, and it would kind of just
yeah,
piss me off. Get out of the corner of their eye. Dude, people would be playing games like on their phone with the noise on in the movie. And I'm like, dude, you're not in your living room. Like, and I just remember being like kind of shocked at like how kind of gross and selfish people had become,
yeah.
even going to like a shared theater like space. And so, yeah, I mean, the fact that now they're just releasing movies at home, maybe that is the future because people have just gotten so obnoxious that like being in a space with other people is almost not even enjoyable. It's almost a deterrent.
Well, I could tell
So
you,
I
like,
don't know, man. Like,
it might be a good idea to release them both ways, maybe,
hmm
because I'm also a diehard.
I think so.
I'll try at least to go out and watch and support a movie that I think I'm gonna enjoy, or even
Yeah,
sometimes that I just support the director or the process. You know, because we follow movies
of
from the very
course.
beginning, and sometimes
Yeah.
and we hear the news is you know how the movie's going and all that. Sometimes you just want to go out and support the film. But with that said, sometimes I just can't go out to the theater, and then it kind of loses its charm when you're like 3 4 weeks of release and you still haven't seen it, you're like, oh, I missed it, you know.
Yeah, you missed it. You that window kind of went by. Everyone's already kind of talked about it a
Yeah.
little bit
But
because it is. There's something about that initial
if I
release.
can't go, or if I, you know, I can't get rid of the kids and go watch it, if I could still
Hmm.
stream it and pay for it that way,
You're still up to date.
yeah, I'm still up
Yeah.
to date and I'm still in the loop with everybody else. So it might be a good idea to release it both ways or try that at least.
I think so. I mean, honestly, because that's kind of the thing is that if you want that theater experience still, but that's why I think theaters are going to have to change, and that's kind of like what I've been trying to do or my goal is like with my company is eventually I want to get to the point where I'm opening up my own theater and I
Yeah,
want it to be more of a prestigious thing, like not just like an AMC, like where you're going to like this beautiful building with like art and like just have it be kind of like the movie palaces of the
yeah,
1920s, just kind of like a more modern, different version of that. But it is like going out for the night. Like you're going to like there's bars there. Like it's going to be like a nice
right,
experience
right.
like kind of like going to like a nice dinner and like nice whatever, but then you go to the movies as well. And I feel like the theater experience is going to have to become more prestigious because like why would a person get off of their couch and go out to the movies if they're just going to AMC? It's like why would someone leave to go to McDonald's instead of just like having whatever Uber Eats deliver something to your house? And so I think the theater experience it's never going to go away, but like how is it going to evolve? And I think things like AMC probably will over a long period go under because I don't
But
think
I thought I heard or read somewhere that AMC was already filing for bankruptcy or something like that, wasn't it? Or was it like some other theater?
they hadn't. They're the only ones that I know that like weren't. They partnered with Universal in some way too. I forget actually what that contract was they signed with them. Or I can't even remember anymore. But I know AMC is the only one that's like they're hurting the least out of all the other chains.
Yeah,
But I mean, all the independent theaters, literally. So it was kind of funny. I live right next to the Grand Lake Theater here in Oakland, which is my favorite movie palace, and it's like an independent movie theater. And I stepped outside of my apartment, and it was just I saw one of the side doors was open, so I went and walked over there, and I kind of like peered in the theaters the first time I'd seen it in like 5 months, and I just and there's a guy in there, and I was like, hey, and he's like, hey, get out of the doorway, like I'm trying to get a pigeon out of here, and I was just like, oh, like I can help you try to get the pigeon out if you want. He's like, yeah, fine. So I come in there, and like there's this pigeon flapping around in this huge theater,
yeah,
and I start talking to him, and he ends up being the manager of the theater, and we start talking about like why I'm up there and like how I visit all these historic theaters and all that stuff and I started talking about the different theaters in the Bay Area, how we had so many independent movie palaces. And he's like, well, most of them aren't coming back. He's like, a lot of them now are no longer going to be showing movies. They're going to become concert venues.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it literally like broke my heart. Like, I was like, these old movie palaces that are like were still functioning showing movies are no longer going to be that and it just that was like the last like knife in the like basically movie palaces from the 20s and 30s.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
man,
mean,
I mean it is just kind of for me it's very depressing, but for most people I don't think they really care either.
yeah,
So
they probably don't. They don't. I think their go to theater is like an AMC or something like that. So
yeah, which me too, like for the most part, like I would always end up at AMC's, but there's certain like the movie palaces would show like old movies or stuff like
right,
that, and I
right,
love going to that stuff. But yeah, I think just convenience always I mean, why is Amazon so big? Why
right.
is Uber Eats so big? It's like convenience always kind of wins out. And even though we are losing something, it's just still the future. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna happen. I mean, but I do see it like it might be the end of the theater as at least as we know it. Something's gonna have to change.
It's very possible. And that's the thing is I wish it wasn't, but the more time that I mean, the more time that things just aren't open, that things aren't functioning, that movie theaters are now like seen as like a threatening place.
Yeah. Well, another
There's
thing we
no
have to
way that
consider
it's
is
like
that it's money too. If the studio is making more money, if they see they're making more money by streaming it,
mm-hmm.
for example, I guess Mulan. We could talk about Mulan a little bit. I haven't seen the movie because I
I
don't think
haven't
it was.
either. I heard it was terrible though.
Yeah, but and at the same time, it had a lot of negative press coming along with it because you have to pay that
Yeah.
extra $30 or something. You're already paying. You're already paying for Disney Plus. You got to pay the
Hmm.
extra 30. And I know some people were like, "Well, Amazon Prime does it all the time." The difference is that Amazon Prime movies or shows are free on Amazon Prime.
Hmm.
It's only the outside studios that they have to charge because the studio's trying to make money, right?
Exactly.
Um, but Disney is their own platform, and they're trying to make money on top of that.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, Disney's already making, I mean, how much money? Like that's like the most profitable.
right, and then I think the
I
movie
mean, it's
still did
crazy.
okay. I mean, I don't have the numbers, but I know it was doing better than Tenet,
Way better.
right?
It made substantially. I think it made something like 150 or 200 million
Yeah.
already
So
just doing it from the streaming service.
for
So,
Disney, that's a win. I mean, and they don't have to pay the theaters to show their
yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
So they're already making more money than they would have showing it in theaters.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I don't know is like, so those movies, well, then there's pirating, which is a huge aspect that would probably really take off as well.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I mean, let's say Mulan. I don't know what the budget was, but I think it was around 150 million dollars for that. And then, so if it makes, yeah, 200 million, it's, I don't know. Like that's the thing is, I don't know what the profit is. Like, but they're not making because some of those movies. I mean, like Joker made $1 billion like in theaters, and
Yeah.
then most of Christopher Nolan's movies were making an average, I'd say, around between 6 to 800 million dollars, and so they were making a pretty substantial profit. So I don't know if they're averaging through a streaming service, let's say $200 million. That means the budget for movies is going to start dropping though too, because they still want
Yeah.
profit. So if
Yep.
they can make a movie for 50 million and then profit 150 off of that, they'll start doing that. But is it? So I can't tell if that's going to hurt things in the long run or if I don't know. I mean, honestly, like I
Yeah.
have no clue
I think it
how all
depends.
that's
Like
going to
it,
play
it
out.
really. Okay, I think if studios really see that the theaters aren't working anymore and they stop showing it in theaters,
Hmm.
then they're just gonna make people are gonna have to pay for the streaming service. They're not,
Yeah,
and
that's
then there's
true.
no waiting, so you'll see that number keep climbing.
Climb, yeah.
Um,
Eventually, it'll have to.
yeah,
Yeah,
so potentially you don't have to cut down on your budget for your film.
hopefully.
Eventually, right?
I mean, that's the thing is we're getting, and that's the other thing is there's so much content out now too. Like
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
yeah,
Even now,
exactly.
like it's almost overwhelming. It's too much. Like it's basically my full-time job to try to keep up with it. And it really feels like a full-time job. Even the stuff they released on Netflix this week, it's like the new Jurassic World creation or Camp Creatious is
Yeah,
like came out, Ratchet came out,
I was
and then
funny story about that cartoon. I was trying to have my youngest son watch it,
uh-huh.
so I wouldn't look weird watching it by myself. But he wasn't at all interested, and I was trying to leave it
That's
on playing
funny.
in the background. But then my wife was
He
like,
didn't
"Are
care.
you? Is he watching or are you watching?" I was like, "Oh no, he was watching. You could change." But it looked pretty good.
I mean, that's the thing is I was really excited when I saw it. Like I saw that like it looked like they put a ton of money into it. I
Hmm.
mean, I just love still dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and
Right.
like that whole thing. So I was excited when I saw it and I watched the first episode and I was still kind of disappointed that I'm like, oh, they're still like basically taking the whole woke thing and kind of running with it because she was just like, oh, that's what male or like male or toxic masculinity looks
Oh
like. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
throwing out all those buzzwords. And I was just like, oh God. I'm like, can it just be fun? Like, please, like, let's
yeah.
not politicize everything, especially stuff for kids. But I'm like, it still feel like, and then even then, it's like I'm trying to watch it and like just still be a little kid. I'm like, is this how little kids have to think now? Is like they're gonna start yelling like toxic masculinity at
Right.
each other? Like that's like the new insult or
Well, I know.
whatever.
Look, I have kids, and like my oldest, um, he's like, "Oh, that's a Karen."
Oh, really?
Already, he's 9 years old, and he's like, "That's a Karen," and I'm like,
Oh
"Oh
my
my
God,
god, man,
that's
that's
hilarious.
crazy." You know, it's like, I mean, this is the world they're growing up in, so it's kind
Yeah,
of a crazy
those
time.
these are the new insults.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Well, before we continue with kids talk, because I do want to talk to you about the movie Cuties. I don't know if you've seen it yet,
I haven't.
but
No.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's been talking about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's I know it's
We've
like
been
the
gone for
most.
a while, so I like how's in general how is COVID treating you? Like the whole situation.
To be honest, it's more of a mental strain
Yeah,
than anything. Like I really do. Like there's most for the most part, I'm typically always fine, but there are days where I'm just like it just the weight of it all, like just like nothing's open. Like you go outside and you either have to wear a mask, even if I go on a run or do whatever. People are like, especially here in California, like people are so I get it's I don't even know if it's judgmental. It's like this kind of self-righteousness like thing where they're just like they feel like you can see like a pride in them when they get to yell at somebody who's not wearing a
yeah,
mask. And I'm just like I'm on like a neighborhood street where there is no one around me. Like they're not even like 20, 30 yards by me and people will be like in their house or like on their like porch or whatever like yelling at me to like wear it and I'm just like this is weird, man. Like it's just very strange.
yeah,
So it's like stuff like that that I just kind of internalize day after day. And then I go home and then it's like I'm looking for movie news or I'm looking to escape somehow. And then it's like, yeah, then I watch Jurassic World and then it's like on that. And I'm like, dude, you just can't escape this right now. It's just like all this kind of like these buzzwords and hostility and just like fighting and like this. It's that aspect of COVID is kind of, to me, it's the worst part. Like the virus itself, I don't even find it that threatening. Like
yeah,
I know that's probably the worst way to think about it, but I'm like everything I keep reading, everything I keep hearing is like for the most part it's got a huge recovery rate that I think the mental strain has almost become more of a problem than the actual virus itself. And that's because it is all kind of feel like days where I'm depressed or run down or
oh
just
yeah,
like you just I don't know it's just I miss the way things were before this whole thing happened.
right,
Like I
right,
miss just like my day-to-day life, like going to the movies, just simple stuff like that. And the fact that they're saying that we're never going to return to anything like
right.
that is that to me is upsetting.
Yeah.
But
Well, I could tell
yeah.
you, like in the beginning, I was the same way. It was like I felt depressed. I felt there was like
Mhm.
no way out of this. That's part of the reason why I kind of stopped the podcast too, because
Yeah.
it was kind of actually, and it kind of actually messed with the way I was watching movies too. It kind of like dictated what I would want to watch because
Definitely.
I didn't want to watch anything too heavy or too
Yep.
depressing because I kind of
Mhm.
wanted just something light, fresh that it would get me out of that mindset and kind of
Yeah.
that escape, you
Escapism.
know?
That's
Yeah.
the best thing about movies. You want escapism from
Yeah,
hostile
and
things
even
in
now,
life.
like that's one of the reasons why I like skipped like Uncut Gems. Like I remember I couldn't find my like any moment like to just watch the movie. Like I'm like, oh man, I know
Yeah.
it's heavy. I know it's like, it's like,
It's just anxiety the
yeah. I was
whole
like, do I even
time.
want to watch it
Yeah.
right now? It's like, and I still haven't watched it. It's something that I gotta watch. Um, but yeah, so it kind of did that, and then I just started doing other projects. Just kind of
Hmm.
get away with. Because another thing is that I really put a lot into the whole podcast thing, and it was like every week. Like you said, it's like another job. It ends up being another
Yeah.
job. Like you're trying to keep up with all the movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
Um, you have to edit. You have to, and it's all time constrained because you want to get it out by Monday, um,
Hmm.
or by the beginning of the week at least. So I kind of just stepped back, and besides that, there wasn't a lot of movie stuff coming out. We were kind of just repeating the same news at one point,
Yeah.
because there was
Yeah.
nothing coming out. And then it got to a point where it's not bad anymore. I continued to work, and I'm kind of an introvert too. So
Hmm.
when it comes to, I'm able to wear my mask, and I go out, and I don't have to comb my hair, and I don't have to care about how I look. Um,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
so like I could wear
I know my
sweatpants with my
fiance's been
t-shirt
loving
tucked
it.
into them, and I don't really care. You can go, you
Yeah.
still go out on your
Yeah. I
PJs,
mean,
and
my
no one's gonna
fiance
see,
doesn't
no
have to
one's
put
gonna
on
recognize
makeup.
who
She
you
just,
are.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. And no one cares, man. We're in a pandemic. If you're looking glamorous while you're in a pandemic and going out and strutting around, like that's, dude, when people get like fancy face masks, I'm like, get the
Oh yeah,
fuck
that's
out of here. Like,
crazy.
come on. Like
The
they spend like money on it. There's like gold stitched ones and all this. I'm
yeah,
like, get out of here. Like
yeah.
it's, I mean, but that's people too. It's so funny to
It's
me.
funny.
And I'm just
I
like
meant
wearing like the cheap.
like my wife's a big supporter of like face mask stuff. She's like, you should wear a face mask. It's like, what for?
Yeah.
You don't really even like. It's like
Well,
a lot of
unless
people
you're
are not
going to
wearing
like a
face masks.
big crowded place, or like if I'm going to the grocery store, obviously, if I'm going into a convenience
Yeah,
store, I'll just wear it because I'm like, why not? But if I'm walking on the street or in a park or like doing whatever, I'm not wearing the face mask. Like I'm just like outdoors. Like I don't. It's not comfortable. Like I
yeah,
already have enough anxiety going on.
right.
Like there's no aspect of wearing the, like even just remembering my face mask is
Oh
annoying. Like
yeah,
every time I like leave the house or get out of the car, I'm like, fuck, I forgot the
I've
face
been late
mask.
a couple of times because I'm like, ah, god damn it, I forgot my mask and I have to go back.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
literally put my t-shirt over my face, like over my nose, and walk in, and then I'll have to like buy a face mask there and then put it
Oh
on.
god.
And I'm just like, God damn
You know
it.
what?
Like it's
I'm at the point where I'm wearing the face mask more for other people than for myself. I'm like,
100%.
you know, it's
Yeah,
like I
I'm
don't
not
want
doing
them
it.
to like yell at me or not even yell at
Yeah,
me, but if they are worried about it, don't worry about it. I'll wear the damn face mask. But
yeah.
um, like for
No, I mean
myself,
that's the
not
thing
really.
is it's definitely like I've been yelled at so many times. Like I can't, like at least over 15 times now. And it's literally from me walking around my own neighborhood, like in, but there's like six people on the road. Like it's, you're not even close to 6 feet
Yeah,
to people. Like I'm like, it's I don't know. It's, I mean, it's definitely become more of a signaling thing than an
yeah,
even actual like fun. Because let's be honest, like it isn't doing much. Like when you go into a restaurant, you put it on until you hit the table, then you take it off.
yeah.
I'm like, and people are talking about like, oh, like on planes now, you fly and they take the like middle seat out, like so no one's sitting there. But I'm like, dude, you're still in an airplane
Yeah.
with circulated air. I'm like, it doesn't like it's
No,
like
they opened
there's
up a window
no,
now. Is what I.
yeah, it's literally just so crazy that I'm like, it's kind of that illusion of safety, that illusion
It
of
is
just like,
a big, and I think you know what. To be honest, I think that's where it was just something to calm the people down in the beginning. Just
um,
wear your face mask,
yeah, but it
because
makes them
I
crazier.
don't think they're doing anything.
They're not.
Especially
A
like I
hundred.
heard, I don't know, I have no idea if this is true, but I did hear like there was some recording or something about like Trump saying that it was airborne the whole time or something like that. It's like with an airborne virus, you're not the mask, a cloth mask ain't gonna do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, it helps to spray. Like, I get it. Like, if you're like a close talker, like little phlegm pieces are coming out of your mouth,
Yeah,
like whatever. I get it. But once things are kind of opened back up, they're just opened back, especially like kids, like little kids. If they're at a
yeah,
park or playing like around other little kids, none of those kids are going to like, they're not keeping the face mask. They're eating dirt. They're, I mean, they're little kids. They
yeah.
just do whatever little kids do. And I'm like, you can't sanitize the world. Like there's just no way to
No,
do it. Like whatever this fire, and we already know that this virus is not as detrimental as we thought it was going to be. Like it isn't wiping out half the population,
yeah,
isn't wiping out a quarter of the population. So at a certain point, like it just, if we didn't hype this thing up to the scary levels that it's at, for the most part, if the virus was out the same way that it is right now and no one had even heard of it and we were all just functioning our day-to-day lives, no one would be talking about this thing.
right.
They wouldn't even be like concerned about what's going on with it. But that even me saying that, or that thought process, like I feel like is, will upset a lot of people. But I am more worried at this point about like things being shut down, people being stuck indoors, like things just not opening up, like not having those things, that just being able to gather with friends and not feel guilty about it too. It's just
Yeah,
like, it's all very strange. And I feel like it is the mental strain of it. It's like an endurance test. It's like running a marathon. Because at first it was kind of a sprint. Like we just got to get through a month with like being in quarantine. Because dude, no one thought we were going to be like 7 months in on this. Like
yeah,
when this started, I never thought that 7 months later I'd still be in quarantine. Like
right.
that's so crazy.
Yeah, same here.
But
You know what? And then with the whole mask thing too, I don't know if it's gonna cause any adverse health effects, but I only feel like it would, because like I wear a mask throughout the whole day at work,
Hmm.
and yeah, it makes me feel like lightheaded. Like
Yeah.
at points, it makes you feel like claustrophobic, especially if like you're working in like, well, I work on a car, so like I'm in the car and with the mask on and everything, it starts making you feel a little like claustrophobic, like you don't have enough air,
Yeah.
and you just gotta keep
No, I
wearing it.
I feel that, well, dude, and then the fires out here in
Oh, that's yeah,
California. So at a certain point, that was what was so crazy about these fires is that it wasn't an earthquake, it wasn't a hurricane, it wasn't like some natural disaster that like affect like buildings were falling. But on top of a disease or virus that's already affecting your lungs and your breathing capabilities, now the air has become toxic.
yeah,
And I'm like, dude, the smoke was so bad out here. Like you literally like I've never had COVID. I've been tested a couple times and literally have never had it, but I could barely breathe. And I was just in my apartment breathing in smoke. Like we had to leave. We actually had to drive to Nevada. And I'm like, if you have COVID and it really is affecting your lungs the way that they say it is, and you're trying to breathe in smoke filled air, I don't know how the numbers didn't just skyrocket in the 2 week period that all these fires were happening.
yeah,
So like there's so many things that don't make sense to me. And the air quality, like the on the index, it goes from 0 to 500, with 500 being like really
yeah. I
hazardous, like
saw that. Yeah,
detrimental. And in Portland, it was at like 500. In Oakland, it reached 350, and that's when we had to get out. I was like, dude, like my fiance could not breathe. I was like, we
yeah,
got to get out of here.
yeah,
But I'm like, it's stuff like that that I'm like, but no one seemed to talk about COVID while all these fires were happening. I'm like, dude, this is literally the number one thing that should be triggering COVID to an extreme where people should have been like literally dying left and right if it was that detrimental. But it wasn't, and it passed, and like things like, and I hear nothing about it. So I'm like, I can't help but always think it's a tool, like it's a manipulation in some way.
yeah. That, I'm at that point too. Like I feel like a lot of the stuff we're being told are probably lies, and
Yeah. It's a fear tactic,
it
which I don't know
it's
why
almost a
though.
little convenient that it started when the whole presidential election started ramping
Of
up, right?
course. Yeah.
Um, it's kind of weird, but who knows? Let's talk
And
about
that's the thing, is most of this talk is like conspiracy theory talk, and like I'm not educated on any one subject enough
yeah,
to
me neither.
be, but like all I know is what's being taken away from me, how I'm actually dealing with it, the people I know how they're dealing with it, the mental strain everyone's going through, how it's affecting people I know's businesses,
Yeah,
stuff like that. That's what I know. That's 100% what I am well knowledgeable on, and I see the strain and the hurt and the fighting and all of that. And that to me, that's something I can actually do something about, but yet we're being told we can't. And that's why, especially now, dude, the fact that the theater experience might be over because of this, like I can't help but just feel angry. Like
yeah,
I feel like this like little ball of rage inside of me that's just like, dude, they took this away. They literally brought down an entire industry that I love for whatever this is. Like it's like
right.
a power move. Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Well, talking about deep breaths and little balls of rage, we had Cuties come out,
Yeah.
and oh my god, dude, the internet blew up. Um,
Yeah.
hate everywhere, right? So I don't know.
Well,
I had no interest in watching the movie, to be honest. Well, I mean, I heard about this movie a while ago.
mhm.
I heard it was okay or good. But then when it came out, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's something I want to watch. But then I had to watch it when everybody started talking about it, and especially
Getting crazy.
all the
Yeah.
crazy stuff they were talking about it. Because mostly it was people being, pointing the finger at something, and it didn't seem like they had watched the movie.
They haven't.
Yeah, so I was like, so
There's no
I gotta
way. I
watch it
knew
and
they
make,
hadn't.
and make up my own mind about it. And it's not that bad. I mean, there's some scenes that even if you're not against the movie, it's kind of uncomfortable to watch because it's like little girls.
They're still little
They're
girls.
still little
Yeah.
girls watch,
Yeah.
and you're watching, right? So But I don't think people got the message of the movie because so I know you haven't seen it. I don't know if you're gonna watch it. I don't know if you care about
I'm
being
sure I will
spoiled.
at some point. I already knew, like, the second I saw kind of what was happening, what it was about, because I've seen it now. Because the left loves to yell at the right, you're
Yeah,
sexist, you're racist,
yeah,
you're these things. And now the right has found this thing where they can yell at the other side that you're pedophiles.
yeah.
And it's become this war of like, and none of them are correct. Like that's the thing is like nobody like the right isn't really sexist, racist, homophobes, whatever it is.
Yeah,
They just don't like being controlled and dictated. And like nobody on the left is pedophiles. But now it's like become this name calling thing, and
right,
everybody's looking for like examples that where they can like flare things up with it. And Cuties just got caught in the crosshairs
right.
like of that. Like
It's
that's
what's happening everywhere, right? You got both
yeah.
extreme sides just yelling as
Mm-hmm.
loud as they could at
Yeah.
everything, and
Yeah.
what's really important just gets kind of diluted into this world where we
Exactly.
don't even talk about it. We don't even discuss it anymore. It's just
Yeah.
this screaming. But yeah, Cuties got caught in it, and
Hmm.
it's not that
Which
bad,
actually helped them, I think, because that is a movie that I don't think anyone would have seen or watched or
right?
cared about unless this controversy happened. And
Yeah,
now it's like top 10 on
yeah.
Netflix. I'm like,
It's
holy
top 10
shit.
on
I'm like, that's
Netflix.
hilarious. But I'm like, because I still like, the watching a movie about young 10-year-old or 9-year-old girl dancers is not something I'd watch. It's nothing that even pops up on my radar as anything I'd even care to
Right.
see,
And that's exactly
period.
what I thought
But
too.
yet the controversy makes you want to be like, all right, well,
And it's
what's the
actually not a bad movie, which is it's crazy because I wasn't gonna watch it, and I
yeah,
watched it
yeah,
because of this. And you got to take in consideration too. It's a foreign movie.
of
It's a
course, yeah,
French
French
director,
film.
so
Hmm.
just knowing that alone, people that do watch a lot of movies, especially foreign movies, they're a
Yeah,
lot more open than Americans are. You
yeah, of course.
when it comes to sexuality or even like
Just ideas, like
ideas. Yeah,
ideas
they're
in
a lot
general.
more
Yeah,
open minded.
just more. They can talk about things more openly, religion, like all of it, the spectrum of things.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
and then especially French movies. I know I've seen a couple French movies that are out there. It's like
hmm,
um. So, but yeah, it's a more of a coming of age movie. Um, a lot of people are against the whole how they film the girls, but I mean it's stuff that's happening everywhere now to our kids, our kids.
yeah,
It's like with the whole internet, social media, they get easily
TikTok,
manipulated, and
yeah,
they're not of the right age or the right mind to make the right decisions.
hmm,
So the problem comes in the way the movie's filmed, how they shoot it is like what I got from it. What my interpretation was, they filmed these girls dancing and stuff, and it really seemed like they were trying to catch the vibe of this is what the girls are seeing.
yeah.
This is how the girls are feeling. They might feel like, I guess you could say, sexy or entertaining, and they filmed it that way. And it's not till the very end of the movie where it kind of flips, and the director starts shooting the reaction of adults and
Huh.
an audience watching these girls in disgust, right?
Oh,
Um,
so wait, the audience is disgusted at
yeah,
the end of
in the
it.
movie, yeah. So
Oh,
the thing is that it
interesting.
happens towards the end. So
Hmm.
you're watching it, and you're like, it even has some humor in there that's it's funny, and but you're
Yeah,
watching it, and then they're dancing and they're doing all this stuff that they think is right, and it's almost like you're seeing it through their eyes,
yeah.
and you're seeing how
Because they're just kids, man. They're
they're just
innocent.
kids, and
Yeah.
they think they look good or they're doing the right thing, and
Hmm.
it's not till the end where you see an audience watching them, and then they're in disgust, covering their kids' eyes and stuff, and then that's when even the main character that realizes that she's not
This,
doing the right thing, and
huh?
then that's when she runs back home, I just kind of spoiled it for you, but you could watch. It's
No,
still,
I mean it's interesting because I actually didn't know that's what I thought it was going to be more like this like empowering thing. Like
yeah.
it was
It just
ended
doesn't.
with
It
like them
just
doing
doesn't
like
happen
a
through the whole movie. You don't see it. It's just towards the end, the
mm,
audience, finally sees them because they're practicing for like a competition, a dance competition.
yeah.
And it's not till that
Hmm.
competition the audience sees them in disgust. Even the judges are shaking their heads, and kids are getting their eyes covered. That's when the main character
Yeah.
realizes that this is not where I want to be. This is not what I should be doing. Runs back home, and then the last shot is the most interesting one, I think, because she takes all this clothes off, his makeup, and she puts on her regular kids' clothes. She's only 11, and
She just
it's
looks like a
the last
little
shot is of
girl.
her running outside or walking outside, and then she starts playing. She starts jump roping with other kids, and then you
Oh,
you just see her, you just playing jump rope like a
yeah.
regular kid.
She just yeah.
So it's a
Damn.
move. It's a movie more about not trying to
Adults in
grow up so
reactions.
fast.
Yeah.
You know, you just take your
I
time.
mean,
You're
that makes sense, man.
you're
I
a
mean, that's
kid.
the thing is like with the internet, dude, I can't even imagine being a little like a boy 10 years 10 years old it was funny because I went back home from my brother's wedding and I was talking to because I don't have kids and
Yeah.
my buddy like all the kids I grew up with in high school that still live where I'm from they
Hmm.
all have kids now and their kids are the age that we were when we met each other. So
Right.
it's so crazy. Like I met my best friend when we were 10 years old and we're still best friends and now their kids are 10 years old. And so I was like, dude, do you remember the time where we were like hiking in the woods and we found a stack of Playboys? And I was just like, that was like our introduction to like porn and like naked women and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And we found them and we were like looking through we like our minds were blown. We were just like,
Yeah.
this is incredible. And like I was joking, I was just like, I like because it hit me at that moment too that I was just like, oh my God, we thought we'd found like a treasure chest of porn like out in the woods. And I'm like, dude, there was probably some homeless dude like up in the woods
Yeah.
like watching us being like, dude, they better not take off my like take
Yeah.
my jack off material. So like but then and it never even hit me until literally as we were talking about it then. But I was like, dude, the things that kids like young boys or girls have to deal with like with the internet has
Yeah.
changed so much that they're getting so much information and such crazy information have access to it in ways we can't even fathom just hearing like because there's always like some shithead kid in his school who like saw a video that's really crazy and then
Yeah.
tells all the other kids about it and that stuff will spread so fast and I'm like I genuinely do not know how people do it nowadays. Like I don't understand how you can it's too much too fast and like that sense of innocence is like how do you maintain that with
Yeah.
also letting your kid evolve enough to where they can handle it maturely but also keep them innocent enough to where they still like get to have like a joyous childhood.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I
just
mean,
extreme
yeah.
accessibility, right? Because, like,
Mhm.
to take your example, you had to hike out into the middle of the woods to find those
Yeah.
those magazines, right?
We didn't even know, like, I didn't even know what, like, stuff like that was. Like,
Right.
we just saw a
You,
stack, like, looked at it, we're like, what the
so
fuck?
you
It
had to
was so
have
crazy.
so many variables to go right for you to find that. Now a kid could
Uh-huh.
just type in a few words and they get a whole world of it.
And that was a picture. Like, we
Yeah.
were looking at pictures.
Yeah.
So I wasn't seeing, like, detailed, like, in intense, like, graphic stuff. But, dude, even music videos now. Like, even,
Yeah.
like, what did that song just come out? Like, was it Cardi B or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nicki Minaj? Something like WAP or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just that song alone, like, because it's like everywhere now. And I'm like, if a kid has to ask about that, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, what is a parent? Are you just like,
Yeah.
like, I don't even know, like, how you even,
Yeah, it's crazy,
or maybe,
which is exactly what the movie's about. I mean, because actually she sees those videos. She's on the
yeah,
phone looking at those videos, and then that's where she
uh-huh,
gets her example from. Like that's where she
yeah.
gets the ideas from.
So do you think humanity has kind of lost its innocence? Do you think that we're all being subjected to so much stuff? And because, dude, obviously we don't know how to handle it either. Look at how many people are
Yeah,
fighting. Like it's too much information, too much lies, too much manipulation, too much stuff. And I'm like, dude, adults don't even know how to deal with it.
Definitely,
how do we
it's gotta
expect
be.
kids
It's just
how
so
to
much
deal with it?
information out there that how
Yeah.
do you make up your mind on what's real, what's not, what's good and what's good and what's wrong? You know, what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can't really. You just have to just. That's the difference, though. Is as an adult you have better judgment. As a kid, you don't.
I don't even know if they do though. Like that's the thing
Well,
is
I
I
mean, you
used to
should.
think that. And then I watch what's happening now and I'm like, dude, I don't think anyone has any concept of decency anymore.
Yeah,
Like there's no like even just how people interact in public spaces with other people, it's kind of become gross. Like it's
yeah.
become like hostile and not nice. And I'm just like I genuinely don't know how we come back from this. Like I don't think anyone really knows. And I've like watched the documentaries, I listened to the podcast. There's that new one that just came out about all the guys who like work for Google and Facebook, and it's on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's basically how they're saying that these devices have become so addictive and they are literally built to create controversy. Like you're programming yourself. Like all the stuff that you're into, the more things you like, the algorithms start like feeding you more of that information. So it's feeding your bias 100% more and more. And so anyone who's feeding, like basically feeding themselves the information that they obviously respond the most to and the things that make them the most upset, that's what's created so much division. And it's fascinating, but I don't know how we come back from this at all.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, is it just going to keep getting worse, or and it is, we don't have leadership that's kind of guiding us out.
I
Like
I
it's
have
really
I
crazy
think it's gonna
times.
get better, and I think the reason why it's gotten so out of hand is because not a
Hmm.
lot of people are working.
Oh, that's 100%
So a
it.
lot of
Yeah.
people are on their phone more, on the internet, just nonstop
Hmm.
reading all this stuff. And I think as soon as everybody gets back to work and is able to keep their mind busy,
Yeah,
things should start settling down. But
I hope
who
so.
knows when that's gonna happen?
I mean, I know that's why the riots and all that stuff are
Oh
still
yeah, for
happening. If
sure.
these
It's
people had
like
jobs
people don't have
to
anything
go
to
to,
do.
yeah, they're not on out all night burning shit down.
Yeah.
And if people are just out on the streets again, like I walk into San Francisco and there's nobody out, man. There's just nobody in Union Square. Like there's
Yeah.
no life, there's no pulse, there's no energy there anymore. And if anything, like it's kind of to me it's nice because I can like walk through it and like it's less people, so it's
Hmm.
like you can just explore and see things. I listen to music and it's cool, but at the same time it feels dead. Like it doesn't feel like it's a city anymore.
Right.
And like there's no people just like going about their day, going to work, getting lunch, doing like none of that's happening. And then they're indoors feeding themselves all this like enraging information. And then at night they go and burn shit down. So like it's not a good cycle. And
Yeah.
that's again, I'm like, we just need to open things back up. Like this virus, no matter like when is the mental strain worse than the actual virus?
Right.
Like I think we've already crossed that line months and months ago, but yet we're still in it. So
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I
know.
don't think people should be
Yeah.
as afraid. I think of cuties, I guess, or judgmental of it. They should really watch it because I think it kind of puts a light out on how kids are growing up and how we need to probably watch what they're intaking through
Yeah.
their phones, through the computer, through wherever they're getting their information from.
Because they
Um,
also can't unsee it. Like once it's there, once
no,
it's
you
in your
won't.
mind,
Yeah,
it's
you
permanently
right.
there.
Yeah,
Like it's
especially now
and
that
then
they have even more access to the internet with, school being online. Like my kids
hmm
has access to the computer all day, and I try to put parental controls on it, but I don't know. Sometimes he's pretty savvy. He might be able to get around them one day.
of course. Yeah. I mean if you wanted to, like if you actually wanted to and you actually knew what like but that's the thing is they're so innocent they don't even know what to look for, they
Yeah,
don't know what these things are, and like
yeah,
that's great, like you want to keep them, like you don't want some like shithead to just throw something up and they're like what the fuck, and like
yeah.
I remember the feeling of being a little kid, and I actually remember the movie, I was watching the movie JFK with my dad, and there was a scene where this guy, they were brought him to a house and they like pulled him inside the house and they were like injecting him with drugs and you could hear him screaming. And I remember just this pit in my stomach where I was just like felt so bad for this guy. And I'm like, oh, how could someone do that to another person? Like he clearly doesn't want it to happen. Why are they doing this? And I remember that like just gross, awful feeling in my stomach. And I'm like, oh, that, and like once I got older, I'm like, oh, that was the feeling of innocence being lost, like where you
Yeah.
don't even know how to internalize this thing. And there's a few times in my life where I would like see something or feel something like that. And then all of a sudden, like now I'm an adult, I've just kind of become numb to all of it too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like you don't think about, I mean, that's part of growing up. You can't shield people from that stuff forever. But at the same time, like, as a kid, you don't know how to process that stuff. You
Yeah.
just don't know how to do it. You don't even know what you're seeing or why you're even feeling the way you are. You just know it's not good.
Right.
Like that's it. But yeah,
To move on to another topic, yeah,
but yeah,
we got a few
I was like, we've gone into some great
we got a
stuff.
few trailers that came out that I would want to talk about. It's one of
Mhm.
them is that Batman trailer that came out.
Oh my God, that's looked incredible.
It does. I'm super excited about that movie now, and I was really doubtful, um, because of what is his name, Pattinson.
Robert
Robert
Pattinson.
Pattinson.
Yeah.
Um, but he looks great as Batman. I just don't know as Bruce Wayne still.
Well, that's the thing is I like that the way that I think they're going to portray him is it's not like this suave billionaire guy. I think they're
Yeah,
going to portray him as like this broken, like,
damaged.
yeah, like, cause like a dude who's like a kid who saw his parents be murdered in front of him
Yeah,
is not going to grow up to be a James Bond. He might be this broken, fucked up kid.
right.
And I feel like that's the way they're portraying him. And I'm like, that's really interesting because I've never thought of that or seen that because we've never seen it before.
No.
And then when you see those images of him, I'm like, oh hell yeah, it
Yeah.
looks so good.
Yeah. To just not that I don't agree with you, but just to it's talk about another point is
Hmm.
I always saw Batman as when as Batman his true self. He's kind of damaged, and
Hmm.
he's showing himself, right? And then when he's Bruce Wayne is really when he puts on the facade and tries to be normal around other people.
Hmm.
This one, it just seems like they're just gonna put him as he's just messed up the whole
I
time.
think he's going to be kind of reclusive. Like in my head, that's kind of how I see him as like this, kind of like a Tim Burton, like Edward Scissorhands kind of character.
Yeah,
Like
that's what
he's
I
this
got from it.
billionaire
Yeah,
guy that like lives up in this mansion.
almost like
And he's
no one
kind of like
ever
this
sees him
mysterious.
type thing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like this mysterious kind of figure, and then he kind of like enters the night as like, but which is a really interesting take on him, and I actually like it. Like I like
yeah,
the idea that I like how they're going to explore that and kind of make it more like a darker film noir, which I think will be really cool, which was not how I saw them taking it at all. But once I saw it, I was just like, holy shit, I can't wait. Like I
yeah.
literally cannot
It
wait for that
looks
movie.
it looks amazing. What do you
Yeah.
think about them trying to bring Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck back though as Batman?
I mean, I
Because I've
guess I
heard
don't
some
mind it
reports,
because like I feel like the way that they're going to do this Batman will kind of tie into the Joker
yeah,
more. Like it's going to be a dark R-rated kind of creepier version, and then they'll have like the Justice League side of,
yeah,
because like this is like a totally different, totally like they have the Jared Leto Joker, and then they also have the Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
yeah,
So I feel like it's just two totally separate universes,
right,
and this new one, like the Joker spawned one, is by far the one I'm more interested in. Like I think it's just
yeah.
far
I
talented, more well. It's less cartoonish. Like it looks just fun.
way more layered. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
to pick at right there with that universe. But I don't
Hmm.
mind Ben Affleck coming back. I did
No,
enjoy
me
Ben
neither.
Affleck as Batman, and I think it's probably better that we have more Batman.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he's still my favorite kid. And like, dude, there's so like the Batman villains were always the best villains. They're my
yeah,
favorite villains. So the fact that we're gonna get like different iterations of them, I'm like, to me, it's just more fun. Like it's just more to have fun with and
Yeah.
explore. And then you get different directors and artists like visions of those characters, and I'm like, cool. Like that to me, why would I not want that? Like
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And then I saw the trailer for The Mandalorian season 2. I don't know if you've seen the first season.
I have not seen the whole thing, but I've seen most of it.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. The
Yeah.
trailer, I enjoy the whole Star Wars world, but what I really think it's crazy. I don't know if you've seen any behind the scenes and stuff of that, but the technology they use, they call it the Void or something like that,
Hmm.
and it's all like screens all around. So they don't do sets anymore. It's all a big screen.
Huh.
All around the actor, and then they film it. And the way they get the background to interact with the actor is through video game technology. So
Weird.
they're able to build this whole like digital background, and it moves and everything with the angle of the camera, the angle or where the actor is walking around. Basically through video game technology, the same way you control a character with a
Yeah.
remote, and then the world is changing as you move, kind of the
That's
same
incredible.
concept. But I heard they're going to use that same technology in Thor: Love and Thunder, I think it is,
Yeah.
which is insane. I mean, if you at least you should, if you have Disney Plus, you should check out that behind the scenes, because that technology
I
is
will.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
I
know about
really
that.
think
Like I'll
that's going to
definitely.
change how a lot of films are made.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like if you can imagine it now, they can create it. Like, and it
Yeah,
looks so real and so vivid and so unbelievable that I'm just like, literally dreams. There is no dream that's not capable of being a reality in front of your eyes at
yeah,
this point.
yeah,
And the fact that they're just evolving it further and further and further and faster, I'm just like, it's such a cool time. Like that's the thing is with as much craziness that's going on, there's also just so much incredible shit that's going on. And I wish we could just find like this perfect balance, like this happy medium of realizing how truly great things are right now to like the amount of entertainment we have coming at us and the quality of it is so astoundingly good. Like it's so like there's no shortage of things that to keep up with that's actually like great entertainment
yeah.
also or art. And yet somehow we find the pettiest shit to
Yeah,
fight about.
yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
so
yeah, you should really check out that at least that one behind the
yeah,
scenes, because
that sounds
it's crazy
awesome.
technology, and it kind of solves the issue of how are you gonna be able to make movies from now on without crowds and being able to travel so much. Now you don't have to be on set or on location, is what I meant, and you could project this whatever you could imagine onto the screen and go
Huh.
from there.
Weird. That's so crazy. I mean, I'll have to watch it. I literally can't even like I can kind of in my head I think I'm seeing what you're talking about, but I'm sure watching it's gonna look
It's
totally different.
It's
So
crazier than I could explain, dude. It's like
that's awesome.
it's crazy technology. I don't even know how that even came about, because
I mean,
they
even what
also add
Favreau
kind of
did
like
with
their own um like props up, so they can interact with the prop, and then the whole background is pretty much a screen.
wow.
But yeah,
That's I mean, that's
so like when you're watching, I think you've seen episode one of, at least of it, and it's kind of
yeah,
like,
I've seen most of it.
so
Yeah,
that whole
yeah.
world
Mm-hmm.
that you see, like the background, like a mountain range, I guess, and all that, it's a screen. And
That's crazy.
the guy's in front of the screen, and then they project like the shadows and everything on the screen, and it's all like live. Is
So cool.
It's
It's
insane.
so cool.
It's insane. I really think it's gonna change the way films are made, because I'm sure more and more people are gonna use it. And it's all
Yeah.
John Favreau is the one that kind of came up with it. I think
Yeah.
he talked about using it a little bit in like a less advanced, but in Jungle Book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Because in Lion King was like,
so
I mean, the
he
whole thing was
yeah,
digital,
I think it might have been
but it
Lion King
looks so
too, but
real.
in Jungle Book he would throw on like a VR headset, and he was
Oh
able to
yeah.
look around this like world that he was building.
That's
So
awesome.
now instead of the VR headset, they took it out into these screens, and then now the actors can interact with it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. You should really check it out.
I mean,
Um,
even just like, I mean, imagine being an artist and getting to create like those worlds and then
yeah,
just like having people like interact with them. Like it's, it's incredible. Like it really, to me, it's like, it's literally the dreamers just making any dream they have even more of a reality. Like it's, I can't wait to see like what more and more, because Disney's always kind of like their stuff is always the best. But imagine like if, I don't even know, like just different artists with like more darker visions, or kind of just, I always imagine like Tim Burton, like Sleepy Hollow, like that kind of like
yeah,
foggy, misty, kind of like old New England
right.
kind of atmosphere with like just ghost stories and stuff like that, when it's like just so interactive and like you're literally going into these worlds. Like I actually want more stuff because we don't get a ton of that stuff, which I wish we got more of, like that um kind of Halloween type movies.
Yeah,
But I'm sure Disney at a certain point will kind of make something along those lines. But yeah, because a lot of it, I mean, they're building this stuff for Star Wars, which is, of course, it's like the biggest thing on the planet.
right.
And so, but yeah, once that technology kind of starts spreading out to different artists and different mediums,
This is gonna be.
it's a, I mean, already my mind was just kind of running with like ideas for it.
Yeah, I mean, actors potentially makes their job easier because they're
Hmm.
not staring at a green screen anymore.
Yeah, or a tennis ball, like with
Yeah,
little dots like on
it's
it or
actually
whatever.
there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they get interact with it. It's insane.
That's awesome.
We're going into rumor territory now, but
Hmm.
just I think yesterday I read that Tom Hardy might be the next James Bond.
I did read that as well, and I still feel like it's definitely got to be a rumor, because like none of the major news outlets that I
Yeah,
read, they no credible one actually announced it. It was all kind of just, so I think it might still be a a rumor that just kind of caught on, but I don't know if he'll actually be the new James Bond, which I was kind of torn thinking about him being the new Bond. Like I don't know if it's necessarily, I love Tom Hardy to death, but I also just don't, for whatever reason, don't see him as a Bond. But
yeah. I see the look. I just don't know if I don't know. I'm leaning more towards yeah, like it's it's fine. Like I could see him as James Bond,
yeah, of course, like he's always good no matter what. So I'm
but
sure if
he's
he's
all.
doing it, it's going to be
I
cool.
mean, if we're going off of just by looks, he's a little short as well. He's probably the shortest James Bond.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
but I also don't know who I'd really want to be Bond. Like if it wasn't him, because like people keep saying Henry Cavill, and I'm like, I don't feel like he's just
no,
too on the nose, like too just like there's nothing interesting to me about Henry Cavill being James Bond.
right?
But and then Idris Elba I thought was like probably the coolest idea. Like I was like, because I just like him and he's kind of got like a sense of like I don't know what it is. He's got like this kind of humor to him is that's so natural. It's like
Yeah,
such like an ease, but you also, he's so commanding that you don't ever not take him seriously, that I thought he would have been fun to kind of play with his Bond. But for the most, like really I wish they would just find a complete unknown, like someone we don't know at all or
yeah,
like can't even expect, and take it in a direction that I I want to be completely like caught off guard by it. But
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I still in my head don't think Tom Hardy will actually be the new Bond, but if he is, I'm also not going to be upset about it because he's pretty awesome.
All right. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I had to talk to him about right
Yeah.
now. I mean, there's a lot. It's good because there's more and more news and more projects that are coming out now than
Hmm.
say last month, right? Um, but there is some stuff that we can still talk about. Is what shows or movies do you recommend or have gone you through this COVID time? Because for a while I stopped watching anything, and then
Yeah.
I picked it back up and I found some pretty good shows and movies and stuff that I've been watching.
Well, surprisingly, the movie that loved the most that I've seen during COVID, which I was not expecting at all, was Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh yeah,
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Dude, It's like I don't know if you grew up watching Bill and Ted at all,
Yeah.
but I watched that movie and it was so damn funny. Like it's really clever, really well done, and the way it ends is just so like optimistic and happy and positive that I was just like I spent the rest of the night just kind of floating. Like I was so, it just leaves you in such a good mood.
Yeah.
And so that was the by far the highlight for me of the whole pandemic as far as like stuff I've watched, because most of the other stuff I've watched has been, I mean, there's been some solid stuff coming out, but nothing that left. There's no been no like feel good movie
Right.
like that one, which I needed, which I really needed.
So
So
I've
yeah.
spent my time mostly watching like TV shows that I haven't watched. I've been binging a bunch of
Hmm.
stuff. Like I think I started off. Wait, what was the first one? I want to have to say like Vikings. I started watching Vikings. I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen that.
how's that?
It's
I've never seen
really
it.
good.
Is it
Yeah,
nice?
because it was by from the History Channel or something like that. But now you can stream it on, I think
I
Hulu
think it's on
or
Netflix.
something like that or Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah.
and dude, I just started it and just completely binge watched the whole like 5 seasons or whatever it is.
Oh wow. Yeah,
It,
so it is that good.
it's
Damn. That's
good. It's good. It has kind of
is
like
it
a.
graphic? Is it violent too?
It's violent. Not so much like nudity and stuff, but
Yeah, but
it
like just
yeah, it
fighting.
is fighting and chopping people and stuff. So it's pretty good. I've enjoyed it, and I'm waiting for. I think there's a last season that's coming out.
I guess
But
it's not on Netflix. It's The Last Kingdom and
yeah,
Norsemen
no,
are
I
on
think it's on
Netflix.
Prime or Hulu. It's one of those
Okay.
two. Oh yeah, the other one was what we do in the dark, which is like
What we do in the
what we
shadows?
do in the shadows. Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
seen
the
that.
vampire.
That one's funny. That one's
So funny,
lighthearted.
man.
That's
Yeah, I
another
like
one
that one
people should
too.
watch. And then I started watching Lucifer because I saw a lot of people watching that.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Netflix. It's
How's
good.
that one?
It's good. It's kind of like almost like that, like a CSI vibe to it, where he tries to unsolve crimes every episode, and then you have
Okay.
like the celestial side type of thing where
Huh.
he's Lucifer, and then there's angels and God and all that. Which
Yeah.
interestingly enough, that's probably what I'm more interested in, and is like the whole story. It kind of gets stale and boring after a while. With the whole crime solving every episode's a new crime and something else he has to solve, and it gets more interesting when it's on that side of things, when it's like
Okay. Is
um
that because that one I think is on like ABC or NBC? So are those like 24 episode long seasons too?
season one wasn't, I think it's like 12. Season
Okay.
two, it's either two or three, the one that's like 24, 28 episodes long.
Yeah, those man, those shows are a commitment. Like those, like because
And
they
I think I skipped maybe 2 or 3 episodes because I was like, this is taking way too long.
too much.
It's too
Yeah.
much, and it was like kind of repetitive, and it wouldn't get to the point, and
Hmm.
that's probably the worst season because it was just too long. And then
Filler episodes.
it
Yeah.
was either three or four, the one that they shortened it up, and now it's on season 5, and we're waiting on like the second half of the season or something like that. But that it's good, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Another one that just recently came out that you're probably checking out too, because I know you were a fan of season 1, was The Boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that I mean, and the second season it started out great. Like I'm
Yeah,
super into it. But then the fact that like Amazon Prime only released the first 3 episodes and they're
yeah,
going weekly after that,
yeah.
and how crazy people got, like I was like, holy shit! Like they're like score, like they're literally bombing the score. They're trying to like drag it down now because they're
Yeah.
so mad at
Yeah.
Prime, and I'm like, dude, that is literally like a junkie trying to get its heroin. And
Yeah.
like,
So I
they took
noticed
it
that. I didn't
away.
know that's what was going on, but I noticed
Me
that it was like
neither. I had
five
no, yeah,
stars and then it went down to like 3 or 2.5. I was like,
yeah,
wait, this show this isn't bad. I was like, what's going on?
yeah. Well, so I did watch the first 3 episodes, and it's true. Like, I don't like watching it week by week, so I'm not even gonna watch it until they're all out now,
Yeah.
and then I'll just because like keeping up with shows as they come out. Like, there's very few shows I'll do. The only shows I actually do that with are HBO,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that's
because
another
HBO,
one you've probably been watching. Lovecraft.
yeah. So that one I'm very torn on
Yeah.
because it started off so good. Like that first episode, I was
You
all
see,
in. Like it was incredible.
to me, I thought that was gonna be like the whole storyline for the first season.
Me too. And that's the thing is it's gotten so weird now
Yeah,
and kind of like and it's in the stories like not only is the story it's kind of all over the place, but even each episode they'll kind of like jump scenes and I'm like,
yeah,
wait, is this like it's a very it's kind of poorly put together, but the style and the visuals are so good that I don't know. Like I actually stopped watching it after the third episode. I'm gonna wait till that one finishes. I'll probably just binge it in one day as well.
yeah.
But it started so good, and then I've liked it less and less with each passing episode,
Right.
which is not which kind of bummed me out. Like I really wanted to like that
So to
show.
me, it's more up and down. Like the first episode was really good, but I was
Right?
surprised how
Yeah.
much they threw in there because I was like, I thought that would be the whole
Premise.
storyline,
Yeah.
you know. But so second one was I think the weakest, which was the like the
Hmm.
haunted house one.
No, the second one was the witches, like when they're in like the that big mansion and they're kind of like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's like the white kind of like cult leaders
yeah,
or like
with
the witch
Adam and
leaders.
stuff and all that.
Yeah.
That
And then
one was
this
kind
third
of weak too.
episode is the haunted house one, which
That's
is
the
even
that
that
one was the
was
probably weakest one. The third one then,
it
and
was the one with the baby head on like that. I was
yeah.
like, this is so stupid.
But then I did enjoy. I think it was the fourth one where they're looking for those pages, and it had a
Okay.
really like Indiana Jones vibe to it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you haven't seen it then, huh?
No, I gave up after the because I figured I will watch it because it's like I just like horror shows in
Yeah.
general.
If
So
you,
I'm like, but it started just getting we progressively kind of worse, and I'm just like, all
so
right, like I
I
don't want
really
to.
did like that one because it kind of felt like Indiana Jones. Like it had
Oh,
that
cool,
like that adventure type vibe to it.
nice.
Um, and I don't know if we were even out with the fifth one yet. Oh, that's probably today on Sunday. It
It's
comes out every
today, I
Sunday.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then because HBO's they always have some pretty good stuff. Like even they have I don't know if you watched that one on the Golden State Killer, like I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
I
It's
haven't
a
seen
true
that.
crime
No.
one. That I mean, it's just pretty fascinating. The whole story about it, like this girl Michelle McNamara is she's Patton Oswalt's the comedian, like
Yeah.
his wife, and she's just kind of like most people nowadays who are obsessed with true crime, but she actually gets so obsessed that she starts like trying to solve these murders, and she gets so in deep with the Golden State Killer that she actually starts helping out the police department with it. And this whole documentary kind of documents like how like her whole process up until the point where he gets caught. And
Mm,
it's pretty well done. Like I mean, as far as like true crime goes, this is
yeah.
about as good as it gets.
I have to check it out. HBO is usually. I'm surprised how all their stuff is usually all at least all right. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the last
Yeah,
one that
they're the
disappointed me
most
was that.
bankable.
Which one was that one? I know we were watching it along the same time. Um, oh
Oh,
man,
have
I
you
can't
seen
remember.
Dave by any
Oh,
chance
Dave
on
was another
Twitter?
one that I watched during the whole thing.
That's
That
my
was
I think that's
hilarious.
honestly my favorite show I've seen of 2020 by far. Like
Yeah,
I would literally be almost crying. I was laughing so hard
yeah, that
every
one was
episode.
hilarious, and
Uh-huh.
but then it had good messages to it too.
Dude, it's such a great.
It was so well
I've seen
written.
it three times.
Yeah,
I've watched it show beginning and three times now.
yeah,
Every single time it cracks me up, and every single character, the way they dig into their backstory is incredible. Like it's
yeah.
just such like a. It's not a shallow surface level comedy
No,
show. Like it gets really into like aspects of their psychology, and I loved it. Like I think it's really good.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
that one was really good. That one was another one that I watched during this whole thing.
mm,
But yeah, I think what I was saying about the HBO one was it wasn't it was a Stephen King one. I think
oh, The
The
Outsider.
Outsider. That's the last
Yeah,
one that
yeah.
kind of disappointed me.
Did for sure. Like I
Yeah,
was, and again, the first three episodes I was in. Like I was like, this is amazing, and then it kind of goes. It really gets lost, and then the end. There's too many holes. Like there's too many things. Like just things that didn't add up for me by its
yeah,
end. That I was like, I kind of lost interest,
right.
which is too bad because
It was pretty good.
it started out really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but
that's it. That's all.
yeah,
I mean, if anybody and everybody has or wants something to watch, those are all good shows to watch. Even The Outsiders was entertaining too.
yeah,
I
it'll
mean,
pass the
even the
time
end
for
was all
sure.
right. It wasn't like something that just completely killed it, but I had higher expectations for it. That was the issue.
Me too.
Other than that, that's all I got for this episode. I think we're over an hour already. I don't even know if people listen to us for the whole hour. Actually, I mean, you might find this entertaining, but I actually checked out the stats for the podcast. It hasn't been playing for a while, and we're still at like 200 listens a month.
Oh wow!
So in a month, people are still listening to old episodes, and we have listeners in Russia now.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
So either they're listening in Russia or they're messing our stats up.
Or they're incels,
Yeah.
and they're trying to like find stuff to like pick apart.
Yeah.
They can like, hopefully there's comments where they can start trying to tear us apart even more.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like before I stopped recording, it was, who was the biggest market? Well, it was like Japan. We had a lot of listeners in Japan, Italy. It's kind of all over the place. It's very interesting, how far and wide you can reach. With just recording something.
I mean, even with my Instagram, I've noticed that like the majority of my followers are in the States, but the people who actually engage and respond, they're always foreigners. Like they're always
right,
because they don't live in America. Like, so what we're doing here is just kind of more interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's the same reason, like, I follow people from other countries when they post videos of like their day to day. It's just so different than my day to day that I find it fascinating.
And Instagram, I just got to be thankful because I haven't really posted anything, no reviews, nothing, and I haven't lost followers. Actually, I probably gained a few.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of crazy because
it
just kind of put that's why I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get back on it because it just put a different perspective on it. I'm like, I was trying so hard, like to get followers and stuff, and now I haven't even tried at all, and I'm getting followers. It was like, it's just I don't know. It's kind of crazy how it works.
It is, man. It's all a game. It's all a hustle, and it eventually, like, it does, especially with like this strain and stress of like day to day life and being in a pandemic. Then like, because this was supposed to be like my fun like outlet, and all of a sudden that became stressful too. And then even watching TV and trying to talk about new things when new things weren't coming out, that became stressful.
Yeah, it started to become stressful to even watch movies. It's like
exactly.
It's like I don't even think I want to watch this.
No, man, everything just started like the weight of the world just kind of, because it was, everything just became more about like arguing and fighting, and I'm like, I want light fun. Like I've lost friends, like I've literally lost friends because I wouldn't post certain things, because like now that I've gained like a decent sized following, people were like, you need to post to support this, you need to post to support this, and I'm like, dude, the whole reason I built this whole thing is as an escapism. Like that's what I think of a movie as like a way to like get out of all the hate, out of all the like politics, out of all that stuff. Like I just want the movies to be fun, and I want my page to be that. And people were like, I mean, they dug in so hard that it became like, if you don't support them, like you're not with them and you're not my friend. And I'm just like, Jesus, man, like I didn't know things were getting that extreme for people, but apparently it is. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, like I just want light, fun, happy, like the rest of the world can fight it out. Like I'm so over.
Which is probably a great time to bring the podcast back then, I guess. People are probably trying to find some way to escape and like just listen to something that's not
talk about fun things, hang out with friends again.
Yeah. Like, so I'm glad we were bringing it back. I'm glad start recording every week, probably releasing it on Tuesday. I think it gives me more time to be able to edit it and post it with a good enough amount of time instead of Monday, since we record Sunday. And other than that, actually in the beginning we probably should have talked about that. You're probably going to be my regular host now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this together.
So I have nothing but time on Sundays to sit down and chat with you. So this is fun.
So, Lucky Boy Reviews. Check him out on Instagram. He's probably going to be our regular co-host now. We're going to be doing this together. And you can find the podcast or myself on notimeformovies.com or No Time for Movies on Instagram as well. And that's it. That's all we got for you guys. Bye.
All right. Bye.